Farah Hannoun for MMA Junkie, and I'm joined by UFC welterweight Jouban. Alan, how are you?
I'm doing good. I mean, it's hot as hell in LA, and I'm trying to work out outside today, but I'm surviving.
I see you've got a pretty nice setup, right? Like you've got some stuff to work out at home and stuff.
I'm trying. Yeah, there's a lot of guys right now that are training in gyms and they have training partners and everything. I don't have that just yet. Everything's still pretty shut down in LA, so I improvise and I have a couple bags and bikes and things like that, but enough to just kind of continue growing and building and staying active and doing physical therapy on my knee in the meanwhile.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. What's the update? You underwent knee surgery in November, right?
Right, exactly. November 8th, I think, was my ACL, and I had an ACL meniscus. And typically, when you do an ACL, you're looking anywhere from 6 to 9 months. And so I'll probably play it safe and go on the later half of that towards the 8 9 month mark, just to be safe, because new studies are showing now that they're always updating medicine that people that come back too soon, closer to that 6 month mark, they have a higher percentage of re-tearing it. So I know me, I know Cub Swanson tore his ACL around the same time. I just saw Kevin Lee, and then obviously tons of fighters have done it before. This is my second time, but to play it safe and with everything going on, I'll probably come back around the 9 month, 8 or 9 month mark, which would put a return for me if everything goes well later this year, around like maybe October, November.
And what happened? Was this a nagging injury or something that happened in training?
It was a freak accident. I mean, I was healthy, and because I'd been injured for a while. It's just not it's not been a great past couple of years for me when it comes to injuries. Sometimes you just get the injury bug, and one thing happens after another, and it's out of your control. I've always been somebody that found myself getting injured a lot. But anyway, after my last fight, I had two different hand injuries, and I went into surgery and had it taken care of and let that heal up. And then as I got healthy, I was shooting a promo for a sponsorship, and I jumped up into the switch knee. And when I came down, my ACL just popped, and uh, I was pretty bummed out, obviously, but I figured it was something that was probably already in the works. It was probably already kind of partially torn, and when it came down, it just snapped. So I was happy that it did it then when I was not signed to a fight yet. Because if I'd have went through like a 3 month camp and then it popped during fight week or something like that, it's a lot more rough. But yeah, it was just kind of a freak accident. It was a really stupid thing.
And how's recovery going? Would you say you're on track, or is it a little bit tough to gauge now with not having access to a gym and everything?
Yeah, that's a good question. I can't wait. I get to go back to physical therapy this week, and so I haven't been to physical therapy in about a month now. So I can kind of have them assess me, but I know my body very, very well, and I'd say I'm on track. I was doing very well. I've had a couple setbacks during this recovery, but nothing that takes me away from the finishing goal of being ready in about 8 to 9 months. That won't be sidelined.
And before your last fight, or after your last fight, you were talking about contract negotiations. I know you were disappointed in the result of your last fight. What's the latest update on that?
Yeah, so I ended up getting the contract renewal, which I knew would happen. I signed a 5 fight deal with the UFC about a year ago, so I'm happy with that. But it's about leverage, and if you are in your last fight, typically fights contracts are renegotiated, not the last fight in a contract, but the one before that. So if you're on a 4 fight contract, your third fight is kind of your last fight because they renegotiate before your contract expires. So I was in that position, and so I really wanted to make a big splash, and get a big win to go into renegotiations with some leverage. Obviously, that fight didn't come away. I thought I was pretty much robbed, but nonetheless, I didn't go my way. So I was upset about that, because I wanted to ask for more money. Not unreasonable money, but you make your money in the UFC when you renegotiate your contract. Because other than that, you go up small increments every fight to fight to fight, and you'll never make money. It's when you expire your contract and you renegotiate and you make a dramatic jump. And so I was looking to do so, but when I got the split decision loss, it took that leverage out of my hands. And so the UFC, we've had a great relationship with the UFC. They've always been great to me, but I couldn't go I couldn't go overboard with the numbers, but I was still able to renegotiate a 5-fight contract.
Nice. And it might be a little early to tell since you're only like angling for a turn towards the end of the year, but are there any names in the division? I know you keep a close eye in your analyst role and stuff. Are there any names that you'd love to fight when you come back?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, there are. And I would love to give you some type of exclusive or whatever you want, but I'm keeping my mouth shut right now because I'm a person that like I don't like to go all in. I like to go all in, and if I start teasing something, I like to go all in. I want to flip the switch. I want to be in fight mode. I want to make this fight happen. If I say a name, and right now, being that I'm not even cleared to fully train yet, I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to jinx myself and re-injure my leg or say something and the fight not happen, that kind of thing. But to answer your question, there are a couple of names floating in my head because I'm approaching the end of my career and the later half of my career, and I know that when that happens, you start thinking about your legacy or what you did in the sport. And for me, I don't want to have another fight like my last fight. My last fight, my opponent took the fight because my other opponent dropped out, so I appreciated him doing that. But he wasn't the type of opponent that I wanted to fight, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to him at all. But I'm almost 39 years old. I've got 12 UFC fights. I've been fighting professionally for almost a decade. I don't want to fight a guy that's 2 years into his pro career, making his UFC debut. I want to fight guys that I look up to. I want to fight guys that I respect, that are exciting, guys that I see. This gets me up in the morning. This is somebody that I know if they sign the contract, man, I'm going to be thinking about this fight every night in my sleep. And then when we walk in the octagon, I know they're going to perform. They're going to go toe to toe. They're going to get the crowd going wild. And so that's what I'm looking for. Somebody who's been in the sport for a while, who brings it, and something like that. So those are the type of names to give you an idea that are floating around in my head. But again, I don't want to say anything just yet until I'm fully cleared and training and sparring and all that stuff again.
Fair enough. And I won't put names in your mouth, but I can imagine the Matt Browns, the Carlos Condits. When I play matchmaker in my head, I think those type of fights would be fun.
Very much, very much. And you know, those guys would be possibilities. I'm not saying the names that I want to call them out, but yes, very much. I've been a fan of Matt Brown forever. We've been teased with our names before. Guys like that. I would say Carlos Condit as well. I've always wanted to fight Carlos Condit, but at this point, he's coming off of so many losses that even though I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, it's almost like, or are you trying to take an easy fight if you pick Carlos right now? And he's not an easy fight. He's just not on a losing streak, and he's fought tough guys. But exactly, guys like that have been around and that are well respected. Yes.
And how's life outside the octagon? I spoke to you a while back about Harry Half, the movie that you're featuring in, that you were in Budapest filming, right? Is the release date kind of postponed because of everything that's going on?
Yeah, it is. And you know, honestly, I would love for them to just put it on Netflix right now or something, because the world will be watching, right? I mean, there's nothing to do. Everybody's waiting for the next movie to drop or something to happen. And so, yeah, I shot that movie just about a year ago today, actually, in Budapest. And it's supposed to release sometime later this year. But I imagine with everything going on, the release date will get pushed back some. But yeah, I'm very eager for that to release, just so I can go see. I've never been to a movie theater and sat down there for a screen, for a release, a premiere, and seeing myself on the big screen. So I look forward to that. And since that day, as soon as I came back to the States, I've been in acting classes ever since for a full year, going 4 hours a week. So it kind of spawned a whole nother career that I've been excited about when I'm not fighting. But yeah, I'm waiting for that to happen.
Oh yeah, that goes to my next question. So I was gonna say, like, do you envision a life in Hollywood after fighting?
Yeah, I think so. You know, it's something that you can't hang your hat on because it's so competitive, you know. And obviously, I'd say I have a little more of a push because I'm a fighter, but nonetheless, if you can't act, it's not going to do much. Because I don't want to be. Look, it'd be fun to be in some action flicks, but I don't want to be like a fighter who can't really act, but they just throw a gun in my hand now and then, and I shoot some guys in a movie. It would be fun once or twice, but I want to act. I mean, when I do stuff, like I said, I like to go full force. And when I did the Harry Half movie, and I was working opposite Ben Foster, who's the star of the show, and he's a tremendous actor. Um, and I was there for a week on set, and it's like a 1950s vibe, and I got a little bit of feel for the energy of it. I go, man, I get it. I get why this is addicting, and I could see myself doing this, and so that's why I dived in the classes, and I'm always working on it because I want to be somebody that when I am retired, or I'm still trying to do acting right now on the side, but when I am retired, that producers, directors, etc., they could say, man, this guy, Alan Jouban, he's a UFC fighter, but the guy's got acting chops as well. The guy's not just a guy you're gonna throw a gun in his hand. So it is something that I could see myself doing in the future.
Nice. Then I want you to analyst hat on right now. We've got fights coming up in the weekend. First of all, are you like surprised to see the UFC really push and make it happen? We ended up with Jacksonville, Florida, but maybe Fight Island and Vegas, the Apex Center later on. Are you surprised to see the show going back on this weekend?
I don't think I'm surprised. Getting the feel of Dana White right away, you saw that he was very eager to do it. I mean, when he was trying to make that card happen 3 weeks ago or so, and at Tashi Palace in Lemoore, California, that gave us all an idea of where his mind was. But I gotta applaud Dana. He's getting the UFC back on TV. He's giving the fans what they want. He's allowing the fighters to make money because 90% of the fighters just want to fight right now and work and make money. So I applaud him for that. And then he did like a Zoom type interview with all of us fighters a week or so ago. And I really liked the way he conducted it. He said, look, if you don't want to fight, that's fine. You're not going anywhere. We're not mad at you. Just let your manager know. Let them let us know. And we won't hit you up. If you want to fight, let us know. We want to know that short list of fighters willing to take a fight on 2 weeks' notice, because we're going to be pumping out event after event. So it was comforting to know that the UFC is not pushing for every fighter to fight if they don't feel comfortable right now, because even if some fighters don't feel comfortable because of what's going on and spreading the virus, some of the guys might not even have the opportunity because the gyms aren't open, like myself right now. Other places like Florida and stuff, there's still ways to do it, and all around the country people are finding ways. But for the most part, certain states it's just harder. Even if you want to fight, it's harder to find gyms and partners and coaches and bodies at this point in time. So they've been real cool about it though, but I'm not surprised, and I'm super looking forward to the fights this weekend. It'll be great to kind of just feel like a feeling of normality again, watching fights on the couch.
I agree. And big co-main and main event. You talked about coming back from knee surgery, and Tony Ferguson came back 6 months later against Anthony Pettis, which a lot of people were surprised about. How do you see the main event going between Ferguson and Gaethje? Who do you have?
Yeah, that's pretty wild to think now what Tony came back from and how soon. But were you asking me the main and the co-main event, how I see them happening?
Yeah.
Was that the question? Yeah, it's I mean, they're awesome fights. I mean, the card is pretty much stacked from top to bottom. But when I look at those two fights, Tony has just an ability where you say, he's not the best striker, he's not the best wrestler, he's not the best submission artist, but he tends to win those when he trades with other people. He beats Anthony Pettis in striking. He out wrestles people or he's more of a scrambler. He likes to wrestle, scramble ability, find the choke, take your back type of thing. But I would say the one thing that I worry for Tony is that he takes punches. He sits inside the pocket because he's got extremely long arms. And if Justin Gaethje connects, he's going to hurt Tony. And Tony gets hurt every now and then in fights, but Justin's a big power puncher. And Justin's very quick. Justin doesn't look, and I mean this with all due respect, he doesn't look like an athlete. He doesn't have the typical six-pack, chiseled chest type of body. But he's quick twitch, muscle fiber. He's so fast, man. He's explosive. He's fast. His shoulder rotation, he swings punches so smoothly. And he does great in the pocket in those scrambles. So Tony needs to watch out right there, because Tony is very comfortable with his hands down in the pocket, having the longer reach, throwing elbows and punches from odd angles. But it just takes one from Gaethje to put you on your butt. So I don't know which way this fight's going to go, but I could see Gaethje having the ability to win the fight in the early rounds, obviously, and then Tony having the ability to take it into the deep waters in the later rounds.
What about Cejudo and Cruz? Cruz, we've seen that ring rust doesn't matter much to him, but this is a pretty long layoff.
Yeah, I know. So ring rust, he's proven that for him, for Dominic Cruz, ring rust does not matter. But I don't think that's a fact across the board because everybody plays things differently. It's like saying, I don't get nervous for my UFC debut, but you do. Everybody deals with the situations different. It's your personality. Everybody handles things differently. So Dominic Cruz has proven, you are right, Dominic Cruz. You do not have ring rust, but he does have aging. He does have injuries. He does have those other factors. So to me, it really kind of matters what Dominic Cruz we see. And I don't mean that by saying if the Dominic Cruz from the old shows up, he's going to win. But if Dominic Cruz doesn't show up, I think Henry Cejudo is going to have a field day with him because he's just showing that Henry Cejudo, although he came into the sport as a wrestler, he's been outstriking people. He's been the explosive athlete. He's been showing that he has a chin on him, that he can throw punches with anybody. And we know he's got that wrestling advantage. But Dominic Cruz, man, he poses some interesting situations in there with that footwork, that awkward movement. I saw TJ Dillashaw said recently, having fought both guys, that he thinks Cejudo's going to have a tough time with Cruz because Cruz is just so awkward with his footwork. And so people that have fought both gentlemen, both men, they have that insight because they just know this that invisible kind of feel. So I think he's onto something. I think it's going to take a while for Cejudo to kind of find his rhythm against Dominic Cruz, but it should be fun. I tell you what, I don't know who's going to win this fight again. I think Dominic Cruz needs to be on and looking like a 31-year-old Dominic Cruz rather than whatever age he's going to be come fight time. But it would be tremendous, and I enjoy everything that Cejudo's doing for the sport, but it would just be tremendous to see Dominic Cruz come and get the belt. After all that Cejudo has done lately, being the triple champ and beating some of the people that he's beaten, for Dominic Cruz to come back after a long layoff again, as he's done, and come back and get the belt around his waist, it would blow my mind, but it would be kind of inspirational as well. So I think that would be something that would be fun to see.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be an incredible weekend nonetheless. We're all excited to have some fights back. Alan, I really appreciate you taking the time. Speedy recovery, and hopefully we see you in the Octagon 2020.
I hope so. I plan on it. Keep an eye out for me. It's my only goal right now, but I appreciate you having me on.